Hey guys, this is Paul, and I'm going to talk about a brief explainer of the controls of Void Destroyer 2. If you play Void Destroyer, it's basically the same thing. Now, some people that played Void Destroyer had a criticism that the controls are too complex, too difficult, too many, too wrong. And controls are a very personal thing where sometimes somebody just doesn't like them, and that's just it. Somebody doesn't like them, and there's no way for me to argue against it. It's just their opinion, their feeling, their preference, their whatever. Um, and the other aspect of Void Destroyer, the original, is that right away, Void Destroyer, about 10 minutes in, um, gave you the control over tactical mode, the real-time strategy control element of the game, and also gave you a fleet. So in Void Destroyer 1, you piloted a single ship for about 10-15 minutes as a sort of a tutorial to space combat, and then there was about 10-20 minutes of a tutorial of real-time strategy aspect. And that was probably too quick. So my audience, the people I was envisioning, was people really, really into both genres, and people like studying the tutorials, which the game had, and Void Destroyer 2 also has. But some people just wanted to jump in and play and have the awesome space battles and things like that, and they sort of received this shock of these two control schemes. So Void Destroyer 2 starts you off in a single ship, so already it's a lot less complicated. When you get into a fleet, you'll pretty much have had mastered the single ship experience, the space combat side. So I think Void Destroyer 2 will have a lot easier learning curve. So having said all that, let me just say that the game has control mapping, fully rebindable, including mouse and keyboard and controller, including multiple controllers. You can have two different joysticks, 3, 4, 5, whatever, unlimited amount. Mouse and keyboard, you can rebind all these things, including yeah, everything. So let's just look at all these controls. Yeah, these are all the different controls you have. That's just for the ship. For tactical, you have your own controls here. So just like Void Destroyer 1, there's a lot of controls. But again, because you start off in a single ship, it should be a lot easier to get into. Now, some players might not even want to get into the real-time strategy aspect, or they'll use it minimally, and that should be okay in Void Destroyer 2. That's my goal, that you're not forced into one or the other. But let me just go through the basic explanation of the flight controls. So a lot of it is kind of old school, how old school space sims were. And to give you an example of some newer space sims or arcade sims or whatever, some don't let you stop. It's kind of weird to me, but there's some space sims that just never stop. You actually can't stop moving. In Void Destroyer, not only can you stop moving, you can move in any direction, including backwards, right, left, up and down. All the thruster controls are available to you. So the way you thrust in different controls is just like in a first-person shooter with WASD. So W is forward, A is left, D is right. This ship has cool thrusters, so I can actually even demonstrate it with this. Q is up, E is down. Now Z rotates you to the right, and the other one rotates. Z and C rotate you in in the opposite directions. So the important thing is, so again, WASD, just like a first-person shooter, Q and E added also for up and down, and Z and C. So your left hand is basically just like a first-person shooter. The tab will do an afterburner. What the afterburner is, it's like these are my regular engines, and the afterburner is a big multiplier to my forward speed. So if you're in a ship that has afterburner, hit tab, and you're gonna burn away from some enemy or burn towards combat. The way you turn with a mouse, you just move it to the extent of the screen. Sort of like a first-person shooter, but the ship takes time to turn. Every ship has its own turning characteristics, so you can definitely this is a little bit different than first-person shooters, something to get used to. And there's also a thing called speed. So I hit the backspace key and I set my ship to go what I call cruise speed. So in a lot of old school space sims this exists, but in a lot of them you would actually be limited how fast you can go. But because Void Destroyer aims to be a little different, you can actually bypass. There's actually no speed limit. So this ship's cruise speed is 60, but I can afterburn faster, and I can even go faster than that. It's just that the more I accelerate, the slower I'll accelerate further, just to keep things reasonable. Otherwise, you could just like accelerate crazy amounts of you. The game will crash essentially. So again, WASD for the basic ship maneuvering, backspace for constant forward speed. Now, when you're constantly moving forward, when you turn, there's a little bit of drift, but your ship will compensate for that drift automatically. Let's say I thrust to the right. Just look at this asteroid, so we have a frame of reference. Let's say I thrust and I let go of the right thruster. The ship will thrust in the opposite direction to compensate. Just show that again. Thrusting to the right. Now the thruster to the left compensates. Now, because it's a space sim and we're in space, that it's not necessarily how it has to be. On Earth, there's drag. You know, the gravity on Earth pushes against there's drag, and you know, the gravity and air surface basically light on slows down. I'm not a scientist, so I might not be exactly right here, but not necessarily how it has to be. So you can actually turn that off in Earth's gravity. Let me just look at something so you guys see what I'm talking about. You can actually turn off the auto compensation, and then you have absolute control over your thrusters, and you're always going to be going to this direction until you turn off the compensator with the F key, and then your thrusters are going to compensate, thrusting in the opposite direction. So there's a little bit of a learning curve here. Maybe it'll take you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm not sure. But basic flight, you have a lot of control. You don't necessarily have to use all these different options, but they're there for you. They're for space sim enthusiasts. You can also pilot with a joystick or a controller. It's just that the mouse is a little nicer of a method due to how overworld controls with a mouse. So you might want to stick with the mouse, or just go keyboard, mouse, keyboard, joystick, or whatever combination you have. Multiple joysticks. Again, keys are fully rebindable, so it's up to you. If you don't like the control scheme I have for you, I set up, feel free to change it. Alright, so with a mouse, the way you fire your guns is with the right mouse button. A lot of ships have secondary weapons. For example, this one has sort of this plasma torch, and that's done with the X key. To target objects, there's a few ways. One way is just to left click on it. There it is. That asteroid is targeted. But let's jump into a little bit of content and go through. Okay, so there's a hostile ship in front of me. Now, just for this demonstration, I made it so it doesn't have any weapons. It's just a silly transport ship. Doesn't have any weapons. It's not going to shoot back at me, which will be really inconvenient while I'm talking. But like I said just before, to target another enemy ship or any object at all, you can just left-click it, or if you press the T key, it will automatically target the nearest enemy ship. I'm actually in a different ship right here. It has turrets, and they'll actually auto-track my target. So targeting is very important for hitting something in space. A lot of the guns will have a bit of auto-aim to help you. Now these are turrets, so they have quite a lot of auto-aim, but most guns will have some auto-aim. And auto-aim is really important in this type of game because of momentum. It's hard to hit something that has momentum and you have momentum, basically auto aim becomes really, really important in this type of space sim. So it's very important to target an enemy ship, and your advanced weapons are able to help you out a little bit. Not 100%, but they're able to help you out. And this ship has a different secondary fire, sort of this shotgun blast. All kinds of ships have different secondary fires. And again, that's with the X key. Another way to target enemies is via the R key, and that's going to target the nearest enemy targeting you. So oftentimes what you want to do is you want to focus on the ships that are attacking you and eliminate them so they don't do any more damage to you. Let's add some enemies that are actually hostile. Alrighty, so we have some hostile ships. So I'm going to press the R key, and I targeted the nearest enemy targeting me, using the right mouse button to shoot this guy up. And there's my shotgun blast. I hit my cruise speed button, so I'm constantly moving, so even if something is targeting me, I'm a moving target, it would have a harder time hitting me. And of course, if something is targeting me, let's make somebody angry. Actually, there's a good amount of combat going on, so this might be a bit hard to demonstrate, but if a ship was targeting me, I could use the strafe keys, WASD, to avoid the projectiles. So again, the basics are, I hope, pretty simple. Use WASD for the thrusters. Z and C lets you rotate. Left click on something to target it. Press the T button to target the nearest enemy. There's different camera views. F1 is the cockpit view. F2 is like a little chase view. F3 is a bigger chase view. F4 is a turret view. That's a little more advanced. F5 is the command view used for larger ships. That's a little more advanced too. Right mouse button to shoot primary weapon. X to shoot the secondary. So that doesn't even touch the real-time strategy mode, which works pretty much like other strategy games, real-time strategy games where you select and left-click. I'm not going to go into that right now. This is just meant to be like a really brief explainer to the basics, just to get you going, in Void Destroyer 2. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the game. If you have any questions about the controls or comments or criticisms, feedback, things of that nature, definitely hop onto the forums. If you have any questions or are having troubles, let me know. I'm here for you guys. I make the games for you guys to enjoy. I don't mind helping you guys play it. I don't mind hearing some criticism, constructive criticism on how it could be improved. There's been a bunch of features added from players' criticism, feedback, and things like that. So again, thanks for watching, and have a great day.
Peggy 12.
Ready. Go.
Behold the dragon's fury!